Hey everyone, and welcome to the Forever Young podcast, where we meet with anti-aging, longevity, and regen industry experts to unlock the secrets of staying forever young. This podcast is sponsored by Harper Media. If you're interested in our solutions to grow and scale your business and stand out strong against your competitors, then comment growth in the comments section or visit our website at theharpermedia.com. Now, let's start the show. I'm excited to introduce today Amy Chiu, who is the founder and CEO of Dear Brightly. Her pioneering work in telehealth-driven, personalized retinoid skincare promises an insightful look at transforming skin with science-backed solutions. Amy, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me. Hi, Hayden.
Of course, thank you for being here. So, Amy, could you tell us a little bit about your business?
Well, actually, before Hayden, we get into that, I wanted to, as you were introing, I wanted to take a pause here and just talk about how we at Dear Brightly think about the term anti-aging. And we actually don't really subscribe to words like younger or more youthful or things like that. And so, yeah, we're more of the subscribers of, pro-aging. And so I just want to make that distinction thinking about aging into our 40s, 50s, and beyond, we're very much pro. But the way we could talk about skin aging, right, can be a little bit different in terms of like skin health and taking care of our skin. And the byproduct of that might be, I guess, what you call like younger, more youthful looking skin. But we don't use terms like that just because we think there's kind of like this negative connotation, if that makes sense, or this fear mongering approach to how we view aging. So just FYI.
Yeah, it actually makes sense. And I'm glad you brought that up because the name of the industry is anti-aging, but to be pro-aging in an anti-aging industry is really like an interesting concept. What inspired you to approach it from a pro-aging lens and view it through that light and advocate for that type of view?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as I got more and more into the space, I did my research, right? So I would go down these rabbit holes on Reddit, on Instagram, and as I would go down these rabbit holes, I started seeing a lot a lot of messaging that I didn't really notice before. I think it just kind of went over my head and I didn't really question it too much just because it's something that I've heard my entire life. Oh, younger looking skin, this will reverse aging, things like that. And the more I got into the space, the more I started to question things and how things were being marketed. And I would see coupon codes that were, what were they? Some would say stop aging or look younger. And I started to pay attention to how that made me feel, and it didn't make me feel good, especially as I went from my 20s to my 30s, which is a really big decade shift, right? Like any decade. But 20s to 30s, it was a big one for me. And so I just paid attention to how I felt. And I recognized that the way the industry is talking about skincare in relation to aging is not healthy.
And the interesting thing is, that's just something that I really haven't thought about before myself. And thinking about it, I think it kind of shapes how we view these products in this industry too. Because I remember looking at advertisements for things like retinol and everything when I was in my 20s, and they said you'll get more youthful looking skin. I'm like, well, I'm already pretty young, so why would I need a product like this? So it really changes our concept of what these products do as well.
Yeah, and I want people to understand that even though, dear Brightly, we love Tretinoin, we love retinoids. I'm obsessed with retinoids. I've been using it since my mid 20s. I started off for hormonal acne, pigmentation, all sorts of things that I was seeing through my skin. And I kept using it because I saw that it had amazing side effects and benefits for fine lines and wrinkles, pigmentation, sunspots, things like that. The way that I think about it is I'm not trying to reverse my aging. I very much want to feel amazing going into my 40s, my 50s and beyond. It's more about skin health, right? And so I want to feel and look great at the age that I'm at right now. But I do not want to be 20 again. I do not want to be in my teens ever again.
Yeah.
I'm way past that. I'm way, way past that, Hayden. And so it's just looking at skincare through the lens of skin health, right? Just like we take care of our bodies by eating really well, exercising, right? Sleeping. We can do the same with our skin, our largest organ, by treating it well with certain ingredients like tretinoin, which we know has major amazing benefits for our skin.
And you talked about some of the skincare things that you struggled with growing up. Is that what inspired you to create a business like Dear Brightly?
Yeah, so to clarify, I've had great skin my entire life until I hit my mid 20s. In my mid 20s, I had, again, hormonal acne, started seeing all this uneven skin tone, bumpy skin, rough skin, sunspots. And it was it happened all of a sudden. It felt like overnight. And so I remember having never seen a dermatologist in my entire life. I never really needed to. I didn't have any severe skin conditions. And so I booked a dermatologist visit, and it took me about 2 to 3 months, I believe, to get my first visit as a new patient. And the experience wasn't that great. They prescribed me tretinoin, didn't tell me how to properly use it. So I used it in the morning, not at night. I put a huge glob on when you're only supposed to use a pea size to a dime size amount. And so I stopped using it immediately once I had a crazy skin reaction. Then I started seeing another dermatologist eventually because I was like, I need to get this sorted out because I do not feel like myself. When my skin changed, I started to not feel like myself. I started to really become more, I'm a more naturally extroverted person. And so I started noticing myself become a little more introverted, which is fine. If you're an introvert, that's great. If you're an extrovert, that's great. But if you don't feel like yourself, whatever you are, then you don't feel like yourself. You don't feel confident. You don't feel secure. And it manifests in various ways. So I saw another dermatologist and she prescribed me tretinoin again. But this time she wrote me very clear instructions.
Good.
And because of that, my skin transformed. It was life changing for me. And everything went away. My skin completely cleared and I kept using it. And I have been using it ever since. I have never looked back.
That's amazing. I'm happy to hear that the effects were so great for you. And you also mentioned that it took you 2 or 3 months to even get an appointment with a dermatologist. Do you think that's kind of common across the industry? And if so, why is that?
Well, I think there's this crazy stat that we found, which is in the US, for every one dermatologist, there's 30,000 people. And so there is a huge shortage of dermatologists in the country. And so when you are starting out as a new patient, it is really hard to get that first appointment. And so that's one of the reasons why I started Dear Brightly. I wanted people to have easier access to prescription grade retinoids. One, because I'm obsessed with retinoids now, and I think everyone should be using it, even sensitive skin people like me who, you can start on a tailored strength level that is fit for your skin needs, even if you're sensitive. But we wanted to fix the issue of, say, that bill that comes that that is $200 to $400 out of pocket for prescription grade tretinoin, right? Also, the time that it saves. Instead of going in for a derm visit, you don't have to take time off work anymore. You can do it from the comfort of your home. It saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of money, it's more convenient, and it's more accessible now.
Yeah. And that's something that I didn't really think about too much because I've lived in big cities for a while now. I lived in New York before. I live in DC now. So for me, it can be relatively easy for me to get a dermatology appointment just because there are a lot more dermatologists in big cities like that. But if you're in an average sized city or in a rural area, then it could be really hard or nearly impossible to book an appointment in a place like that.
It's not great in either. So in big cities too, you have more people, right, that are probably trying to get in for a visit. And it's harder to because there might be less dermatologists or there might be more, but in either, it's not really great because in a rural area, it's farther. It could be farther to a dermatologist in person as well. Telehealth is amazing because it's offered, yes, convenience for people, but in terms of the costs as well, it's also eliminated things like possibly Uber rides or Lyft rides, right?
Yeah.
Or it's helped reduce like maybe copays, things like that. It's made it more affordable. It can, yeah.
And it's great you brought up also the price of just going to a doctor's office because that can be really expensive also. Like whenever I need to make a doctor's appointment, if I can do a telehealth visit, I try to do a telehealth visit just to save money because I know I'm gonna have a big copay, then I'm gonna have to pay $40 just to get to and from there in an Uber.
And it's not even that. I remember having done my research in the past, some people who work hourly, for example, who need to see a dermatologist, they physically have to bring themselves to the office. And so because of that, they can't work, right? And so the work clock stops, they have to go in for a visit and then come back. So in some cases too, people have to stop work and they don't get paid obviously for that time.
And it's amazing that your product is finding ways to just bring this healthcare to people who normally can't go into a dermatologist's office at the drop of a dime and just get the help and services that they need in a more quicker and efficient way.
Yeah, I mean, people are also there's a number of reasons why telehealth is beneficial, right? But not to say that in-person doctor's visits aren't also great. There's reasons for that too, right? So if you want an actual treatment, some things can be more invasive, right? If it's not something that you can send to you in the mail, like a topical, then you have to go in for a visit, right? So there are cases in which an in-person visit makes more sense. But for something like this, not necessary. We have tried to remove all the obstacles given the experience that I went through.
And Amy, I'm curious about what your experience was like starting a telehealth-based business and growing it into the success that it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it was very daunting. It was very daunting because telehealth is a whole new beast, right? And so you really have to understand the laws. You have to have really great lawyers. You have to understand what you can and cannot do. And so it can seem very daunting, but as long as you do your research, as long as you are in constant communication with your lawyers, things can work out. But it's not even just that part as well. I think building any company doesn't need to be telehealth is also a daunting thing in itself, right? Where do you start? Especially if you've never started a company before, right? So there's so many things that you need to do. And I think the one big learning for me when I was getting very overwhelmed with by all the things that I had to do, I always asked myself, okay, what are the things that I need to do today? And it was almost like I just thought of these tasks as building blocks instead of this big colossal thing that it is now today. Because if I thought about it like that, I think I would probably have given up. But if I just break it down and just focus on the little things, over time, it'll turn into this bigger thing.
I'm glad you brought up that technique because I actually used to be a teacher. I taught for 7 years and I taught special and general education, let's see, math, English language arts, and history. And one of the techniques that we use in our field is called chunking. So we'll take a big concept or a big task and we'll break it up into smaller steps. And for students with disabilities, it really helps them just focus on the smaller tasks so they can achieve
Yes.
your goal. And it helps with anybody, really.
Yeah, I remember seeing this one, was reading about this years ago of this person. I don't know who it is anymore, but this person, he loved to sew or what is it sew? Yarn or what is it called?
There's like crocheting
Blanking right
and
now.
knitting. I know how to
Oh,
crochet.
it's knitting. It's knitting. Okay, okay. I don't know the difference between crochet and knitting, but it was definitely
Well, with
knitting.
the crochet, I can tell you really quick. So the crochet, it's like one needle and then you just loop it through, but with knitting, it's two needles.
Okay, I think he was knitting and he was talking about how he would just focus on every knit one by one. And as he focused on that, in the end, he built this beautiful, huge, I guess, blanket. And if he had thought about, okay, I'm going to build this huge, huge blanket, it would probably be so daunting that he would never even start or even finish it. But because he had this mindset of just every single step and just focusing on that next knit, he was able to get to this bigger thing. So that's I always equate it to that. That's how I think of the things that I do on a daily basis.
It's a great concept and an amazing process. Amy, when did you start Dear Brightly, and how has it grown over the years in terms of the services you offer and your telehealth platform?
We started back it was more of an idea back in 2017. And then we really started dedicating more time to it because I had another job at the time. I think in 2018 is when we really went all in on it, me and my co-founder at the time. And what we started then is still what we do now. We've stayed steadfast in that mission to get retinoids to every single person and educate people on the amazing benefits of it. And we have not strayed away from that, right? So we have always offered prescription grade tretinoin, formulated, tailored from day one, and we still do to this day. We are now offering, which is really exciting, newer prescription strength products. So, for example, our RX Eye Serum has come out and it is so good. It's taken us years to develop that. Our derms developed it, and it has things that are very specific to the eye area, but it does have tretinoin, which is amazing. So it has tretinoin enough for the strength level is perfect for the eye area because the eye area has skin that's a little bit more sensitive.
Yeah, I put on tretinoin myself. Like I usually avoid my eye area because I had to learn the hard way. When I put it around the eye area, my skin started to peel and get irritated.
Yeah,
So it's great to
that's
have a product for that now.
exactly. That skin is different than the rest of your face. And so we have an RX eye serum that's specific again for the eye area. It's in the name, but it has tretinoin in it. It has green tea extract. It has caffeine. It has, other things in there for a brightening effect, but it's very specific to the skin around the eye.
And I'm curious, how do you educate customers about just retinoids in general and what they do? Because I remember for me, I started using retinoids probably in my mid 20s too, and I didn't know how many people knew about it, but I watched The View. I watched The View all the time since I was like 10 years old. And one of the co-hosts on there, Sunny Hostin, she just has the most amazing skin. And I didn't realize other people knew about it or really talking about it until she brought it up on the show one day because they have this segment. I forget what it's called, but it's a segment where they bring out Greta Monahan and then they
Mm.
go over all these different products that they have to offer. And she told everyone, she's like, I get all these DMs about my skin, what different products I use, and the secret to my skin is retinol. And she really talked about it and delved into it. But even for me using tretinoin, I don't really understand what it does and why it works the way that it does and why it works so well. Could you break down some of the science behind it?
Yeah, so tretinoin, I'm going to do it in more like layman terms. So tretinoin is a form of derived vitamin A, as all retinoids are. So retinoids, it's really the umbrella term. And underneath that umbrella term of retinoids, there's retinol palmitate, there's retinaldehyde, and there's tretinoin. And they all have actually different what you want to call like potency levels, right? And that potency is determined by how bioavailable it is to the skin. So tretinoin is actually the active ingredient, retinoic acid, that by the time you put it on your skin, it is already bioavailable. Whereas something like retinol will need multiple conversions to become bioavailable. And so that is the reason why it's much weaker. And there is research that shows that retinol is 20 times less potent than, say, a tretinoin. So, what retinoids do though is they stimulate collagen production. And we lose collagen starting from our 20s. I mean, it's different for every person, but starting from our 20s, we really start to lose collagen by 1% every year. And so, tretinoin helps stimulate that collagen again, and it helps stave off that what you would have called like, I guess, like skin aging, right? And so yeah, that it turns over your skin much faster. That's why some people purge, for example. They're like, why am I getting all this acne? Why am I breaking out when I'm using tretinoin? Isn't it supposed to help my skin? Yes, that's exactly what it's doing. It's helping you purge. It's helping you get everything out from underneath the surface because again, stimulating collagen production, your skin is turning over faster.
And when using retinoid, I remember At first, my skin started to get really irritated because I wasn't
Mm.
using it correctly. How do you guide new retinoid users through initial side effects like dryness and other things? And what tips do you use to ensure long-term success?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, we try to educate as much as possible in various channels. So, the doctors will let them know, so they're derm providers. And then also through emails, we have a treatment plan for people on their dashboards. We try to educate as much as possible in different ways. And it's not like we say it once and then it's a one and done. We do it in multiple ways and hit, messaging in various ways so that people see it in many forms. So, a pamphlet, online, through the doctor. But some of the big, big pro tips that we've told people and what I've learned over time and from our dermatologist is that tretinoin, it's really important that it's tailored. And the reason why I say this is because every skin is different. And a person might get started on a lower strength level, but then get increased to a higher strength level as their skin adapts, right? Because something that's people think, okay, just because it's a really high potency level, it's going to work really great for me. And I want the max and I want the strongest thing. No, you put something like that on, especially with tretinoin, it will burn your skin. And so we are very careful with that. And that's the reason why tailoring is so important. So you might get started off on a lower strength and get moved up to a higher strength. Tailoring is really important. Also, the amount you use is really important. So, like I said before, a pea size to a dime size amount is all you need. It's all you need. And if you need it to easily spread around your face, then a moisturizer, you can mix it in with a moisturizer. A moisturizer is very, very important to use with your tretinoin. And some moisturizers out there, like a true humectant, it will sting your skin. We at Dear Brightly, we formulated one that it's specifically used is designed to be used with tretinoin in mind. But you can also sandwich too. So if you're super sensitive, you can put moisturizer on first, then tretinoin, and then moisturizer again. Or you can mix tretinoin and moisturizer and put it on at the same time. And then if you're extra, extra sensitive and you really want to lock in that hydration and you don't want, dry, flaky skin, you can seal it with an oil after your moisturizer. And that will lock in the moisture. But I will say sometimes people think that an oil replaces a moisturizer, and it does not. It does not.
Why wouldn't it replace the moisturizer?
Because they're different. An oil is not a humectant. And so you really need a humectant to actually create like to be the moisture and then your oil will lock in that moisture.
Okay. And I'm curious if there's any new innovations that you might be exploring at Dear Brightly or any new things that are coming on along the horizon.
So, like I just mentioned, our RX Eye Serum has just come out, and we are not subscribers of just getting as many products out on our platform. We really take the time, and this is the reason why we don't have that many. Some brands have like hundreds or like 50 plus products on their platform. We at Dear Brightly like to take the slow burn approach, where we want to get a formula really, really right before we actually formulate it, develop it, and then put it out to market. And so we have our night shift face RX face serum, and now we have our RX eye serum that took many years to develop and also just innovate on. And then we are eventually coming out with more that we have in the pipeline that we've been working on for a number of years as well. But some things that we're exploring and we've talked to our derms about and doing a little bit more research on, there's this idea of PRP and exosomes, and there's not much research around them right now, exosomes in particular. It's relatively newer, it's not FDA approved, but there are some brands out there that are doing it as a topical, and I don't know yet. The jury's still out. We're still exploring it. But again, we are not one of those people who are like, we need to be first to market. We're of more of the mentality of we want to get this right, even if we're second or third to market. Doesn't really matter to us. We just want to make sure the formula is beautiful. We want to make sure that it works for people and that the actual goop itself is very elegant. The quality matters to us more than how fast it gets to market.
And if someone wants to sign up for your products on Dear Brightly, Amy, what would be the process for that? What website would they visit and what kind of process would they be walked through?
Very easy. You can go to our handles at Dear Brightly, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, again, at Dear Brightly. And then if you want to message us, support at dearbrightly.com and then, or DM us as well. And then our website is just www.dearbrightly.com. Super, super easy to use. All you have to do wherever you are in the world, actually, sorry, in the US, because we only market to the US, wherever you are in the US, you could do it from your home, from your work, from your couch, wherever. You go through a series of questions, upload photos of your skin, and then that's it. A dermatologist provider will look at your whole skin profile and then see if you're a really good candidate for this and tailor your prescription, your tretinoin formula, which has a bunch of other added beneficial ingredients in it to make the experience better for you. And then you get it sent to you in the mail. It's super simple, super easy. There's no surprise cost to it. It's very, very simple. You'll get a trial size at first, and then eventually a bigger refill size to keep going.
And from when a person signs up for an appointment to when they actually get the product, what's the wait time in between?
5 to 7 business days.
Cool. That's a really good
Yeah.
run.
Yeah. But it's all freshly made. It's all freshly made. This is not something that is on a dusty shelf or anything like that where you have to go buy it from a store. It's freshly made for you.
Awesome. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast today. It was really exciting to talk about what your store offers, not only that, but also just what retinoids really do for people, because, not everyone really knows about it. And the work that you're doing for the community is exciting too, just making this more accessible to everyone across the country. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
That's all for today's episode of Forever Young. Region leaders share anti-aging secrets. Thanks for joining us to uncover the keys to lasting vitality. If you're interested in checking out Dear Brightly Skincare, then visit dearbrightly.com. That's DearBrightly.com. Don't miss out on our next episode. Subscribe now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, and visit The Harper Media to explore how we can help your business grow. Stay vibrant, and we'll catch you next time.